today and through the rest of the weekend. We want to break down the latest data for you, and we want to give you the first alert now about what you can expect through the weekend. So today, we're experiencing wind chills across the area, anywhere between about -15 to -20 in some locations. One or two very isolated locations might get to that -25 level, but that really doesn't look like it's going to be a huge widespread concern. I think most places are going to sit in between that -10 to -20 range for the wind chills throughout the entire day. So it's not just this morning that it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold throughout the entire day. Then we turn our attention towards Saturday. It's a first alert weather day because of just how cold the actual air temperature is going to be. We're going to be in the single digits all day on Saturday. The wind is going to be calmer, but even a light breeze takes that wind chill down to 10 degrees below zero. So it is still going to feel cold on Saturday. And then, of course, we've got that first alert weather day in place for Sunday because of that incoming winter weather system that we're tracking. Could potentially reach winter storm criteria for some parts of 21 country. So I want to focus on the cold weather first, how you can prepare, and then we'll shift gears to what we're tracking for the weekend. Currently, the wind chill in Fort Wayne sits at 12 below zero. Columbia City is at 15 below zero. Pretty much everybody, except for Portland right now, is reporting a wind chill in that range of -10 to -15. Once we start getting to that -15 to -20 range, that's when we're talking about the possibility of frostbite setting in, and as quickly as 30 minutes. So the frostbite times are going to remain in that 30-minute range throughout the rest of the day today into tomorrow morning, with some minor improvements in the temperatures as we get into the second half of the weekend. Still, it is going to feel cold, so limit your time outside if you can. But if you are going out, make sure to dress in layers. Dressing in layers, covering up as much skin as possible, is how you can prevent the possibility of frostbite setting in. Also keep in mind that we're talking about impacts to your pets, even huskies and long-haired animals. They're not used to this cold of weather. Yes, they might love the snow. They might like it when the temperature is, 20 degrees or something. But when we're this cold for this long, you just want to try to limit their time outside. Now, also, you want to take steps now to prevent frozen pipes. If you live in a ranch or a multi-level home and have pipes along exterior walls, you want to let a thin stream of water trickle from those pipes. That way you can prevent water from freezing inside the pipe. But if you live in a mobile home, it's a different story. You want to make sure they're as insulated as possible, those pipes are, but you do not want to let that water trickle. That's how, in mobile homes, that water could actually freeze. Now also you want to make sure to put gas in your vehicle. You want to try to do that today because it's going to be cold throughout the rest of the weekend. And I also want to show you the signs of hypothermia, because if you come across somebody who's been outside for a long time, they might be experiencing symptoms of hypothermia. So if they're confused, if they're shivering, they're having difficulty speaking, maybe they're sleepy or drowsy, and they have stiff muscles. These are all signs of hypothermia. So when you come across somebody who's been outside for a long time and maybe might be experiencing these symptoms, try to get them to somewhere warm. That way they can gradually start to warm up. And I point this out specifically because we're going to see a prolonged period of cold weather. I'm showing you the 7-day forecast now. That way you've got the first alert of what to plan for even into next week. You can see high temperatures aren't even expected to get out of the teens over the next 7 days. And morning temperatures are going to be in the single digits, if not below zero, with wind chills below zero at times over the next 7 days. So this is a prolonged period of cold weather that you need to be prepared for. So that's why we're showing you the first alert 7-day forecast now to show, hey, it's going to be cold even into next week. So we just want to give you the first alert about that. Now let's switch gears to the snow. First alert satellite and radar shows a messy situation out in the southwest. There's snow in Utah. There's rain-snow mix in Arizona. That area circled in red, that's where the weather system is. That's going to swing our way. And the heart of the weather system is expected to stay to the south of us, but we are getting in on some action. The areas most likely to be impacted by this incoming winter storm are the areas under winter storm warnings. This extends all the way back through New Mexico into southern Colorado, Texas. You've got Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, parts of Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky. You've got parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee under ice storm warnings. And this winter storm warning extends all the way up through Indianapolis, just on the edge of 21 country. I'm going to show you local impacts here in just a second, but you can see just how widespread the impacts are going to be from this winter weather system. But this area in pink tells you where the most impactful region is going to be. So if you're somebody who plans on traveling over the next couple of days, you're probably going to want to reconsider, especially if you're traveling out of the south. The travel delays through the south, and I want to take this full screen here, going to be pretty major. Snow impacts are expected on Friday evening in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and to Kansas. Into Texas, especially Dallas, ice is more of a concern. And that ice risk is going to spread to the east late Friday into Saturday. So now by the time we get to Saturday afternoon into the evening, snow is now impacting Missouri, Kentucky, even into Indianapolis. And then ice is starting to be a concern for places around Atlanta. Atlanta, obviously a major airport hub. Even Charlotte, we can see moderate travel delays are likely by the time even Saturday morning gets there. So if you're traveling out of the south sometime this weekend, whether it be Saturday morning, Saturday night, anytime on Sunday, you want to plan accordingly. Maybe reroute, maybe rebook, maybe reschedule your plans if you have to. And those impacts are going to continue to be felt along the eastern seaboard in the Sunday night and Monday. So log on to the airline's website if you're flying. Try to follow their advice. Try to rebook if possible if you think that your flight is going to be impacted. I've already had a couple of people reach out to me and say, hey, can you give me advice? I'm flying here, I'm flying there. I gave them my advice. I had to take my own advice yesterday. Some of you know that I'm going on vacation here soon. I had to rebook my flight through a different route. That way I wasn't going to be impacted by the winter storm and the ice down in Atlanta. Locally, though, we're not talking about freezing rain. It's just going to be snow on Sunday. So the weather system really going to be most impactful on Sunday. We'll start to see some of those snow showers fall late Saturday night, but really it's throughout the day on Sunday where that snowfall is going to be steady. And our primary concern is going to be intense snowfall at times and some travel concerns, possibly some delays. Right now, about half of 21 country is under a winter storm watch. So it's these counties in blue that were saying, hey, we could see up to 6 inches of snow. That's that criteria from the National Weather Service, up to 6 inches of snow possible in that area in blue. This includes everybody in Wabash, Huntington, Wells, Adams, Grant, Blackford, Jay, Defiance, Paulding, Van Wert, and Allen County. So if you're watching from Allen County, Fort Wayne, New Haven, Monroeville, Huntertown, Leo Cedarville, Grable, if you live in Allen County, you're under a winter storm watch. I would not be surprised if, given the trends that we've been seeing over the past 24 to 48 hours, if this winter storm watch gets upgraded to a winter storm warning, and then these counties that are not under a winter storm watch right now, that would be LaGrange, Steuben, Noble, DeKalb, Kosciuszko, and Whitley County, I wouldn't be surprised if they're put under a winter weather advisory for this incoming weather system. So now that you know at least who's under what criteria, let's walk through First Alert Future Track together. And I'm fast forwarding to Saturday afternoon. I want to emphasize that there are still some details that are going to be worked out with this weather system over the next 24 hours, primarily how far north it's going to shift. Maybe it even shifts a little bit further to the south. That'd be good news, so that way we'd be less impacted. But the timing of it is the thing that is most up in the air right now. So First Alert Future Track showing by 11 p.m. on Saturday, we've got widespread light snow. We do expect some dry air with this weather system at first, so we'll see a bit of a lull in the action very early Sunday morning. But by the time we get to around 6 a.m. on Sunday, that snow is going to be fairly steady, and that's going to be the case throughout much of the day on Sunday. And I want to point out as well, you notice there's some darker shades of blue. This is more moderate snow intensity across much of the area. It looks a little bit lighter the further north you go from Fort Wayne, but even still, fairly steady snow late morning into the afternoon on Sunday in Steuben, LaGrange, Noble, and DeKalb counties. This snow is expected to wrap up late Sunday night, with a few light snow showers continuing into very early on Monday morning. So here's the latest update for how much snow we could see in 21 country. This was as of this morning. Liz, Michael, and myself, we all talked about it. We all came to the conclusion that the forecast that we put out last evening still basically on track for Saturday night through Sunday night. Fort Wayne, Huntington, Bluffton, Ossian, Decatur, Bern, Portland, Paulding, Van Wert, Wabash, Marion, Hartford City could be talking about 5 to 8 inches of snow falling from Saturday night into Sunday night. If you live north of Fort Wayne, so this would be parts of Kosciuszko County, Noble County, DeKalb, LaGrange, Steuben, Williams County, 3 to 5 inches of snow is possible. Could be a little bit more. It just depends on how far north or how far south this weather system shifts. I've seen some questions on social media or some statements that, how did you guys land on this number? I mean, it's going to be so cold that, we just don't usually expect that much snow when it's that cold. Well, there are a couple of factors we want to take into consideration. The first are the various weather models that we look at. And these are just 4 weather models that we look at. We've got a pretty good consensus that we're going to see quite a few inches of snow amongst these 4 weather models. And there's way more weather models out there that we look at, but this is just 4 of them. This is the in-house model for Saturday night through Sunday night. You see that dividing line more or less along US 24. Not exactly, but Fort Wayne kind of right on that boundary of 6 inches of snow. I'm not sure why my map is fussing with this. Bluffton, possibly 7 inches of snow. Kendallville, Angola, possibly up to 5 inches of snow. Then we look at the European weather model. European weather model seems to be the go-to for social media personalities to post. We're seeing a pretty good consensus that Fort Wayne, okay, in that 6 to 7 inch snow range is possible. Bluffton, maybe up to 9 inches of snow. Angola, on the higher side of that 3 to 5 inch plus range. And then we consider the American model. Okay, the American weather model is showing some lighter snow amounts. So right now, the GFS, the American weather model, seems to be a little bit of an outlier, but even still, several inches of snow throughout the day on Sunday. And then the high-resolution American model, so the GFS is a low-resolution model, the NAM is a high-resolution model. It's showing more or less what the graph, our in-house model, and the European weather model are showing of we've got that split through part of Allen County of Fort Wayne could see 6 inches. Angola could see 4.5 inches of snow. So we look at all of this weather data, kind of combine it, see what's been performing well and what's been performing poorly, take that into consideration, and that's how we've come up, at least partly, come up with our snow total map. The other thing we take into consideration is the temperature. So when you have warm temperatures, 34, 32 degrees, that's when we know that snow can be really wet. This is like perfect snow for snowballs and snowmen and things like that. But when it's colder, the snow tends to be lighter. It tends to be fluffier. And when it gets really cold, that's when it's really dry snow. And when we look at liquid, so melted snow, if we had 1 inch of liquid precipitation, when the temperature is near freezing, we could be talking about 5 inches of snow. When it's a little bit below freezing, we could be talking about 10 inches of snow if there was 1 inch of liquid precipitation falling from the sky. You might have heard that 10-to-1 ratio if you're particularly weather savvy. That's pretty much what we're talking about. But when it gets really cold, you start to get really dry, really fluffy snow, and that can pile up quickly, even though there's not a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. As temperatures get colder, it's more difficult for the air to hold moisture. But even a little bit of moisture when the temperatures are really cold can make snow pile up really quickly. So that's something that we've taken into consideration, is the fact that, yeah, in terms of liquid precipitation, not really going to be all that much. It'd be, if this were the summertime, this would be about 1/4 inch of rain, give or take. But we take into consideration the fact that the temperatures on Sunday are going to be in the single digits, warming up into the low teens in the afternoon. That puts us at a high liquid to snow ratio. So this was going to be the type of snow that can pile up really quickly, even though we don't have a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. So taking those couple factors into consideration, that's how we've come up with this snowfall map of Fort Wayne, places to the south, potentially picking up 5 to 8 inches of snow. Places to the north, Fort Wayne, 3 to 5 inches of snow. But just keep in mind that, this is still 3 days away. So there's going to be little deviations in the track of this winter weather system. So we just want to give you the first alert well enough in advance so that you can actually do something with this information in case we get a quote-unquote worst-case scenario of very impactful snow. But places Fort Wayne to the south look to be more impacted by this incoming winter storm than places to the north. So